We're recording?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. It just is very low, I can say. Okay. It's amazing. We get to the different modality of prayer, and it has to do with praying, Baruch Hashem. So today we're doing Kriya. Okay? Vayikra, Kuf Reish Aleph. So when we're talking about tefillah and prayer, right, it's not monolithic, not a monolithic experience. It has a lot of tones, it has a lot of texture, it has a lot of color, it has a lot of different. And as we've been learning, right, there's all these different modalities of prayer, and there are 10 basic different modalities, and then we can mix them to kind of create our own personal, unique modality. So Kriya, which is often literally translated as calling out, right? Very soon we're going to read Parshas Vayikra, right? And he called. Now, Vayikra is interesting because not only do we use Vayikra as a modality of prayer, but Hashem himself uses that modality of expression of prayer, which we have to understand what that means. So Vayikra is another very intimate, very informal type of prayer. It's not merely just an outcry of despair, but it's an active summoning. It's a calling, right? Literally, the word calling is the greatest translation. Calling means we're awakening our inner selves. We're calling Hashem. When Hashem calls us, Vayikra Hashem el Moshe lemor, Hashem is calling, right, Moshe's inner core, waking him up, connecting him with his deepest part of himself. So this is a great modality to explore. Erev Purim, where Purim is all about getting to our inner core, our kodesh hakadoshim. We read on Shabbos Parshas Tetzaveh. Parshas Tetzaveh, this amazing parsha, a big switch in what we've been learning up until now, and a lot of it is focused on clothing, right? The clothing of the Kohen Gadol, Tiferes, Lechavod Tiferes. The first time the word Tiferes is used in the Torah, it was in Parshas Tetzaveh. It's only used 3 times in the Chumash, twice in Parshas Tetzaveh and one in the end of Devarim. Okay, so Tiferes, which is glory, has what to do with clothes. But if we look at the root word clothes, beged, it's the same root as boged, traitor, right? Because clothing deceives, right? Clothing deceives. It's not what a person, right? What did the girls do in the Mishkan Shiloh on Tu B'Av, right? The Jewish Sadie Hawkins Day, okay? What did they do? They switched clothes, right? So you couldn't figure out who was rich and who was poor. So all the rich girls loaned their Louis Vuitton shoes to all the poor girls, and all the poor girls gave their shoes for you, or whatever that store is closed, right? to the rich girls, okay? And all of them the rich girls lent their Chanel suits to the poor girls, and the poor girls lent their Beis Yaakov uniforms to the rich girls. So no one knew. It was all white. They were white, right? So it wasn't exactly, they were Rosh Chodesh uniforms. So clothes deceive. Clothes are very deceptive, right? One of the things we do on Purim is we dress up, right? Or at least some people dress up, right? One of my favorite things on Purim is to dress up. Every year I have with my kid, Mommy, this year you are not dressing up. They're very embarrassed. It peaked when I dressed up as Roughly Named. That was like, because I rented a sheep.
The real one?
A real sheep.
In America or here?
Yeah.
Never did do anything
Roughly Named. She was a shepherd. So I got a sheep. And I had a well on wheels. I took a laundry basket and put wheels under the well, and I walked around with my sheep and my well.
Yeah.
And you wonder why your daughter says, Mommy, not this year. You
Well,
wonder why?
Wait till you see what I'm dressing up this year.
Did you already
I'm not telling you.
Of course, have a good soda.
I gave it back to the Arabs that
What time? What
borrowed
time
it from.
over?
Yeah, I'll be home anytime except for the Megillah.
Are you coming here?
I'm Bezrat Hashem.
Okay, then we'll see.
No sheep this year. Different surprise.
On the camel.
What?
No camel.
Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe next year it's game,
clean up after it, and then.
Yeah, that's the difference.
The animals are the best. Okay, but no, this year no animals. Tov. So yeah, my kids don't like it. But one of the is dressing up. What's dressing up, right? what you see is not at all what you get. It's always a surprise. That's all the food we have for Purim, right? Hamantashen, right? How many times have you thought you're taking a chocolate one and you ended up with peren, with poppy seed, right?
The best.
Or the opposite. No, the opposite. Okay. Or you're looking for this, then you get something else, krepla, right? It's all covered. It's all on. It's what's on the inside and the outside. We can't see. The miracle of Purim looked like something regular politics, right? Wow, politics. I heard Rabbanit Rachel Bazak said the most amazing thing. She said, take Ayal Cohen, right? He was released from captivity 3 weeks ago. And last week, President Trump flew him in. She said, Mamish, like Yosef HaTzadik, was taken from the board, right, from the pit. And just a couple days later, he's in the Oval Office having an audience with Trump, right? Who could imagine? It gives me chills to say it, right? So we have, this is all happening in Chodesh Adar. We have a lot to look forward to. This is good. But things are not what they see, right? Clothing deceives. It's bogey. It is a traitor to a person's inner essence. Kriya, this modality of prayer, Kriya, is a calling which awakens us. It gets us into focus. It brings us and grounds us. At the same time that it grounds us, it also gives us wings, because it's grounding us about who we really are. Well, who we really are, we're this incredible soul that can fly to the highest heavens. So this is the prayer, and this is the modality of prayer on Purim. Now, Purim is different than all our other holidays because Purim is the only holiday we have that we don't say Hallel, right? We say Hallel on Hanukkah, Hallel Shalom for 8 days. We say Hallel on every other holiday except for Purim. But what did Chazal say? What do we have instead of prayer? We have the Megillah. What bracha do we make on the Megillah? Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu, b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, al mikre Megillah. The entire Megillah is mikre. It's a prayer of kriya, of calling out to Hashem, of calling ourselves, of the words of the Megillah awakening us and reminding us who we really are, and not to stop at the surface. Not to stop, one of the most amazing things about Purim, and how Purim is even greater than Pesach. Pesach, 1/5 of Klal Yisrael merited redemption. 4/5 didn't get to leave Mitzrayim. They died there, Makas Choshe, as it says in the beginning of Parshas Beshalach, Chamushim Yatzu, right? By the way, there's another parish which is very nice also on Chamushim. Chamushim is that 1/5, right? So it says there's something so beautiful. Either they were armed, right, that they had, or that they armed themselves with chesed. That because 4/5 of Klal Yisrael perished, there were a lot of almanos, there were a lot of yitomim, and everybody in Klal Yisrael that was merited freedom paired themselves up with somebody who was left alone and had a buddy system. So they armed themselves with chesed, chamushim, to take care of those 1/5. It's amazing, right? So everyone was taking care of everyone, that no one should feel alone. So chamushim yatzu, 1/5. By Purim, everybody. They merited it, they didn't merit it. Everybody was in the same boat together. Everybody was saved. That's an incredible geula. That's v'nahafrichu. That's sasam v'simcha for every single person. So the entire reading of the Megillah is this expression of mikra. And the words of the tefillah are actually hiding. They're disguised within the Megillah. And this is, my daughter, she has to make a program for her class. So very nice program, I think. I'm sorry to digress, but there actually is a point here. Not just the story. But the teacher assigned them, every girl got the name of another girl in the class. And they have to dress up as a midah tova, a good character trait of that girl. Okay? And it has to be a food.
There has to be a lot.
Food.
Oh.
So my daughter got the name of a girl, and she's like, I don't know, I don't even really like this girl, right? And I'm like, okay, let's think hard. Let's find a nekudat tova. So one thing she said is she's like really, really makpid on davening. Like she's very careful with her davening, and she takes a long time davening, and she doesn't rush davening, and she's very consistent. I said, great, you're gonna dress up as a cow, right? Because it says unishalma parim sifasenu. We are going to replace cows with our lips. Pam, we used to give korbanos. Today we daven. So she's going to be a cow and have, what's her food? That chocolate with the black and white cow, the cow. Okay, works. And what's her game? Her game is, I said, let's make a game because I was preparing for this. We're going to put words all over the board, okay, with the chocolate attached to it. And we're going to give the girls cards where they're going to have a word from the Siddur, and on the board are words from the Megillah, phrase from the Siddur, phrase from the Megillah, and you get a card and you have to run and grab the words that are connected, the overlap between the words of the Megillah and the words of the Siddur.
Can you give us one example?
We came up with over 100.
Wow.
Yeah. May Hodu ve'akush as Hodu Hashem, right? The Hodu did like that. We took Leiv. Leiv is mentioned. Toiv is mentioned over and over again. Oira is mentioned, or Chodesh al Tzion Toyer. Like we met any word, any shorish, we matched it up, and again and again and again. If you read through the Pesukim, it's amazing, right? Tcheles, we have Tcheles in the Parsha of Shema, right? Even like little things like that, all embedded. So the idea is that the words of prayer are dressed up and hiding in the Megillah, because the Megillah is a siddur. It's a mikra, and it's a specific type. And we make a bracha on reading the Megillah. We're making a bracha on saying a new form, a different form of Hallel, a disguised form of Hallel, right? But it's there, and it's all there. Maybe we'll play it too on. Maybe you want a game Thursday night.
Yeah.
With the chocolate, or you just want the chocolate.
Yeah.
But there's a catch. Half of the chocolates are empty, with a little petek inside that says tefillah b'li kavana keguf b'li neshama. Tefillah without intention is like a body with no soul. So some of them are.
They're going to be disappointed.
That's life. It's not a feel-good win-all game, but it will be fun. Everyone's getting some kind of chocolate, right? Okay, so Kriya is similar to Tza'aka, right? And we actually have Tza'aka in the Megillah also, right? Mordechai goes out, Vayitz'ak Tza'aka Gedola Umara, okay? But Tza'aka, which is doesn't have words, it has less of a form. Kriya is more deliberate. Kriya is a summoning of the divine presence through speech. It's not like silent prayer. It's different from silent prayer. Kriya is outwards, it's assertive, it's declaring, and the Torah itself uses the term Kriya to denote moments of great spiritual significance. As we said, number one, Vayikra Hashem el Moshe lemor, right? Hashem calls out to Moshe in the beginning of Vayikra. And this is how we encourage all children to begin their Torah learning with Vayikra, right? Now the standard answer given is Yavoi Tahorim v'yisasku b'Tahorim. Let the pure, innocent, holy ones come and learn about Tahor. The whole Sefer, almost the entire Sefer Vayikra, is about Korbanos, which is about the Beis Hamikdash, which is about purity. So let the pure ones come and learn about purity. But perhaps there's a deeper answer now that we know that Vayikra means a calling. Maybe we want the children to start their Torah learning with Vayikra because we want them to hear the call to greatness, the call to being the best they could be, the call to constantly maintaining consciousness of Hashem. That's the call that we want to embed within them so that they'll continue and always be learning. In Bereshis, right? Vayikra Sham b'Shem Hashem, Avram Avinu called out in the name of Hashem, where he called people, come learn about God, know God, recognize God, be God's friend, be God's son, be here, right? We're in Shirashim, we're called Hashem's also companion, right? All these things, be here. He's proclaiming Hashem's presence to the world, and it's the calling of every human being, right? Every human being has this homing device within them. It just needs to be activated. They need to be called. Karoiv Hashem l'chol koirav. David HaMelech tells us in Tehillim, Hashem is close to all those who call him. Kol asher yikru'uhu, but there's a t'nai, right? Be'emes, right? You have to call him with truth, right? What does that mean? So first of all, that tells us that kriya, the type of prayer of kriya, it has to be true, right? It has to be real. It has to be authentic. You can't cut and paste another kriya from somebody else. It has to be your own. Now, I heard the most amazing mashal years ago, and I don't know if this is a source, if it's really true, if somebody made it up, all of the above. But the mashal goes as follows, that once upon a time, there was a very, very successful king who had an extremely prosperous kingdom, and his subjects loved him, and he was extremely devoted to them in terms of economics and social, and there was no crime in his kingdom. And it was like utopia, okay? But there was one problem. King had no successor. He had no children, and he didn't trust any of his advisors or ministers because he was positive as soon as they took the throne that they would just use it for their own benefit and not be a servant to the people. And he wanted to find somebody who would be a servant to the people and really do what he had done and continue his legacy and be his dynasty and his destiny. So he announced, as he was getting older, he decided he's going to have a competition amongst the children. And he is going to take a child and he is going to shape that child to be the next leader. But how is he going to pick the child? So he called all of the children to the great hall of the kingdom, and he passed out to each child a planter. And he said, each of you are charged with taking care of your mystery plant. And in 1 year, we're all going to meet back here. And then I will know who the true and next king is. Okay.
Was he giving a plant?
A planter.
Planter.
But an atzit.
Oh.
Am I saying the wrong word?
No, I-
What? A flower pot, yeah.
Yeah,
But they don't know what's in it, right? There's dirt, but no one knows what's in there. And
seed, just this, whatever.
No.
whatever. So all the children go home, and of course, all their parents become super competitive, right? And they're singing to their plants and watering them and spying on each other and trying to sabotage the neighbors, right? And everybody's into their plant. Comes a year passes, comes the day where everybody has to show up, and we are going to now announce, and the king is going to know who's the next king, who's his successor. So he goes up and down the rows and he says, no, and these are gorgeous flowers and all kinds of exotic, even little miniature trees, and everything is groomed and perfect, and everybody had even dusted all the leaves and petals, and it should just be perfect for the king. No. Finally, he comes to one little boy who's standing there with a empty planter, and his head is down, and he says to the king, I'm sorry, your majesty, but nothing grew. I tried, but nothing grew. And he said, you are the next king. All of the planters were empty. And the king was waiting to see who would be true, right? Who was going to be emistic to the mission. And this little boy he chose. And this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us. Korav Hashem l'chol korav, l'chol asher yikru v'emes. You have to say something.
I'm sorry, because this is something for a lot. I don't know if I'm really calling Venice. Like, I don't know.
Isn't that the most truthful thing you could say?
And I realize, okay, but now I know that it's so truthful. So, like it's a loop.
We have to dive into that. Hashem, help me say a true, real tefillah. Hashem, help me be true, right? What is v'taher libeinu la'avdecha be'emes? Hashem, purify my heart that I should serve you with truth, right? I can't do that on myself. We don't know what truth is, right? Most of us, not everybody, right? I'll talk about myself. We can lie to ourselves. I can lie to myself on so many levels. Here, take for example, right? We lie all day long. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great, Baruch Hashem, right?
No, but Shoshana,
It might be a lie. Sometimes it's not, right?
no, but I think it's important. Like with Baruch Hashem, it means we have to feel it. Baruch Hashem.
Nachon. But to say I'm fine, everything's fine, right? Oh, how's your daughter, right? How's your, oh well, actually he was arrested last night, and he's being held right now. In I don't know. I went down to the police station at 3:30 in the morning and was there for a long time. But yeah, I guess everything's great. How are you? Right? So that didn't happen. I mean, it happened a number of years ago, but. Actually, the only son who I never thought would get arrested was arrested. They called me from the police station at 1:30 in the morning. They're like, "Hi, is this Shoshie?" Yes. Yeah, we arrested your son. I'm like, "Oh, you mean?" I said, "One of my sons." No, not that one. I'm like, "So this one? No. So this one? No. So this one? No. No, it can't be. Not that one. He's the only one who would never do anything wrong, right?" Anyways,
But that's, I'm saying, that there's so much.
okay, now we arrest
internal line,
people. Yeah.
right, there's so much internal line, right?
There's
There's so much.
But that's part of Kriya. Part of Kriya is Hashem, open up the gates of emes for me. Open up the gates of emes. Let me see the truth. Right now, be careful what you ask for, because sometimes we're not ready. There's a reason why we have all these layers, because we can't see the truth all at once. The pasuk in Tehillim says, "Emes min haaretz titzmach," that truth grows from the ground. We cannot handle the full truth all at one. You ever like people tell them the truth, right? Oh, that's really gonna help, right? It's not gonna help, because we human beings, we cannot handle a mass truth all at once. We have cognitive dissonance. We can't. Truth grows on us, right? Truth. When a person is, it's Rabbi Nachman calls it ribui or too much light, right? Our eyes will be damaged. We can't look at the sun. We can't look at the solar eclipse. We can't, right? Because our eyes will be damaged, and it's like a nature of ours. Oh, I'm gonna just lay out the cards on the table and tell the truth the way it's supposed to be. Doesn't work.
Isn't it when you ask that how you are, not to be true, but don't expect you to tell you how they are. Don't expect
It depends who's asking you, right? If it's like just polite talk, it's polite talk, right? How are you? Baruch Hashem, good. How are you? How's everything? Amazing, right? And things are amazing. There are a lot of amazing things. It's not like a black and white lie.
Auntie, she just sort of comparing, starting head down.
It's a mitzvah to listen. And that's why you could put your
We're a little too honest.
Baruch Hashem, Shtabach Shemo. But we know, I think most people, like, that's part of developing tact, right? And some people haven't been blessed with it, and some people have. So we ask. It's
Very true.
and it's also a certain, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave certain people, we have to thank Hashem. When we ask somebody how they are and they go on to a 45-minute tirade, right? We can sit instead of, first of all, we could have compassion on them. That whatever they're going through something.
I think it made her happy.
And someone who complains a lot, in my experience, this is not goref, this is not 100%, but often people who complain a lot and go on those long tirades about everything that's wrong, they're not able to pray. Because if they could pray, if their heart was open to prayer, they would be able to take all of those issues. And that's okay to have. Hashem sent them all that stuff, right?
She was looking for Hashem. She wasn't particularly from a lady, but she was connected, always speaking to Hashem in her way. She's actually a very lovely lady, but
there might just be a gap, though. Maybe
not here anymore.
between being able to talk to Hashem and being able to do Kriya, which is that I'm open, I'm hearing, I'm calling myself, and I'm very authentic. There are some people who daven a lot. There's kufa in my life where I davened for everything except for what I really should have been davening for. I would go to the koisel and for 45 minutes, right? Daven and daven and daven for all kinds of things and all kinds of people, right? But I was forgetting to daven for the one thing that I really should have been davening for. Why? Because it's it's something that we could sometimes. It's a certain kind of cognitive dissonance where I want to run away from that, right? I don't want to face the music. I don't want to actually really look in the mirror because it hurts. It will never change. That's not what I planned on, right? It wasn't in the dreams, right? Something else, but it's what it's what Hashem gave us. So it's very easy within prayer to run away from prayer, right? Very easy. That's why one of the most important tefillahs of a sick person, right, is to daven for themselves. Because people who are ill tend to daven for other people, right? They not forget, by design, in a very deep subconscious place, don't daven for themselves. And their tefillahs are very important. It's very important to daven for other people as well, right? A person who davens for their friend and they're lacking the same thing, they'll be answered first, right?
So which one is answered first? If they're both davening for each other,
the one who
simultaneously, which one is answered first?
I don't know. Don't know. As it says in Moshe Rabbeinu said to Paro, around Chatzois. I don't know exactly in the Musar. So
My understanding of people that also complain a lot is just because they need some soothing response.
Could be.
Yeah.
It could be also that they're just in a lot of pain and they don't have an address where to send that, right?
Many people seem not to have the feeling that Magili, I have the right to invoke directly to Hashem. They don't have the feeling that they could be the vessel, and I think that stops them. Not me. So
I'm going to change what I love what you said. I just want to change two words. Magili. Magili has a certain connotation of like a teenage entitlement, right? But that Hashem created me for this purpose. Hashem created me as a kli for shefa, right? Hashem created me as a kli to be mekadesh shem shamayim. That's what I am, right? So Hashem, I want to fulfill my, and I could, and I have to, and that's everyone's destiny. Everybody in a different way, right? But we're all here. Hashem created each and every single one of us as a vessel for His kriya into the world, for His calling into the world, for awakening people to recognize and serve Hashem.
So I think what helped me, I just use my imagination. I just imagine that I'm in the presence of Hashem. I'm in Hashem's presence, like Hashem is here. And then my prayer completely different because I know Hashem is listening. We're just not talking like, just talking. Yes, be in presence of Hashem. And then pray. That's what helped me.
You know what you said, I'm sorry, I forgot. What's your name? I forgot.
Ray.
What you said, Ray, actually that's exactly what happens in the Megillah, right? Mordechai tells Esther, go to Achashverosh. And she says, Vani, right? Are you kidding? Right? Me? I'm going, right? I can't do that. What it's gonna backfire, right? I can't go to the king. Ani loni crazy. I haven't been called Zeshlei Shimyon for 30 days. He's not interested in me. And we know every time it says Hamnelech, it's a reference to kadosh Baruch Hu. So in other words, what she's saying is, I can't approach Hashem. Hashem doesn't want to hear from me. And what does Mordechai tell her? Oh, yes, Hashem wants to hear from you, right? Kasher avadati, you're going to throw away this opportunity. It's exactly what you just said, right? You have to believe that you are a vessel to bring Yeshuot, to bring salvation for all of Am Yisrael. And that's how Mordechai talked Esther into going to David. And what does it say there? She says, okay, fine. I'm going to go to the king, Asher lo chadat, which is it's not appropriate. It's not according to the religion, right? That is religion or the protocol or rules. However, you want to translate that word. And ubechein avo el hamelech asher lo kadat. She uses this word ubechein. In our davening on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, we use the word ubechein over and over again. We're borrowing it from Esther HaMalka, who said ubechein avo el hamelech asher lo kadat. Even though I wasn't called, but ubechein, because Hashem created me as a vessel for salvation and shefa and goodness, That's why I can go to Hashem. So that's mamish what you were saying. Very, very Purim idea. So the Purim narrative, the entire narrative from beginning to end, is a striking example of what Kriya is, as how it's a transformative, right? It turns things literally upside down. People who were going and celebrating the downfall of the Beis Hamikdash, right? What was the party of Achashverosh? The party of Achashverosh was saying they were partying because here 70 years had passed. Not only Jews miscount, also Goyim miscount, right? We're all good. We're all not good with math, right? So, well, that I guess it all goes back to, is zero a number or not, right? The big debate, is zero a number. Put that aside because I can't stand math.
I have a book for you.
No,
Oh, it's basic.
it's about hating math.
No, it's
Oh.
about zero. That's the name of
Oh,
the
no, I can't read that.
No,
I can drink zero, but I can't read
If you
it.
add zeros onto the amount, it makes a huge difference.
If what?
You add zeros onto the amount, it makes a huge difference. Your hand becomes a thousand.
Oh, that's what the book is about?
What's it? It's called zero.
Which mean?
Nothing.
When you
No,
add
no,
zero
no.
to something, though, you're
Right. And the more zeros you have, the more money you have, for example.
Yes.
The more bounty you have, and there's zeros. That's the only way that you could get to infinity, which you never can. That's why it's a
Yofi. Anyways,
That's a giveaway.
so wait, what were we talking about?
We weren't talking about.
Ubechein.
Goyim is
Ubechein.
talking.
After Ubechein.
The Goyim is counting.
Oh, the miscounting. What was the party of Achashverosh? The party of Achashverosh was that 70 years passed, the prophecy hasn't been fulfilled. There's never going to be another Beis Hamikdash. Let's party. How are we going to party? We're going to wear the clothes of the Kohen Gadol. We're going to use the kelim shonim. We're going to use all of these different vessels. We're going to defile the vessels that were used in the Beis Hamikdash. We're now going to use them to celebrate that the temple will never be built again. And who showed up to that party? Which, by the way, you ever buy those bags of lettuce that have like 7 hechshers on them? She'eris, bells, Aravafrati, right? The Suda of Achashverosh had all those hechsherim on it, right? Eda Charedes, and bells, and She'eris, and Rav Landau, and Harav Bistritsky, and Efrati, everything, right? Those amazing bags of
I know
lettuce.
that's enough to bring the Mashiach, that all those people could get together.
But what were they getting together for? To celebrate the opposite of Mashiach, the destruction. Jews who went to that party, we can't even understand. We can't even understand such a thing. It's like a celebration that like a shul was destroyed, that a temple was destroyed, that we were kicked out of Yerushalayim for what they thought was the tzmitut forever. They're going to party for good relations, PR, it's whatever you want to, however they sold it to themselves. Talk about cognitive dissonance, right? Those same people fasted and did tshuva and were saved. And we're not just saved for their generation, but Purim is one of the only Yom Tovim that in the Asid Lavo in the future, it's not going to be mivutal, it's not going to be canceled, right? We're hoping that certain, at least part of other Yom Tovim, right? No cleaning for Pesach, right? Everything else is fine, but just cancel the cleaning or whatever it is, right? Other things are going to be canceled. We don't know exactly what's going to happen.
Have a clean house though.
You want to come clean mine? You're more than welcome. Bevakasha. Okay, so Mordechai and Esther and all of Klal Yisrael, they didn't give in to passivity, to acceptance, but they heard the call. They brought others to hear the call, and they called out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we have Mordechai's cry. Right, Vayetze betoch ha'ir, and he went out in the midst of the city. Vayikra, and he called out, a za'aka gedola umara, a very great and bitter cry. Right, so there's za'aka also, which we learned about a few weeks ago. And Esther also, she calls everybody, lech knos et kol haYehudim, go and gather all of the Jews. Right, get them out, get them out of their place. Let them hear the calling of the day. And as we said before, the Megillah itself is called Mikra Megillah. The whole entire thing from beginning to end is all about Mikra. So when a Jew calls out HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he draws the divine presence into the world. Kriya is not a passive act, right? but it's a form of creation. When we call out Vayikra, we're calling out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we are creating new pathways to connect to Hashem. We're creating a new awareness, a new consciousness of Hashem's presence in the world, which is the point of our existence. And the Alter Rebbe explains that when a Jew calls out Shema Yisrael, he's not merely reciting a verse, he's evoking divine unity, transcending himself, his limited self. The essence of Kriya is that it binds the caller to the one being called, which means that we call out Shema Yisrael, right? Such a beautiful thing to call out Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, I don't know if anyone ever listens to the radio, but I haven't listened to the radio in years. But I used to listen to the radio every morning. And every morning, once upon a time, I don't know if it still is, Rabbanit Cook used to get on the radio, I mean, the station that I listen to, right? Rabbanit Cook used to go on the radio and lead people in Shema Yisrael, right? And say Shema Yisrael. And before that, it used to be once upon a time, and every radio station used to start their morning broadcast of 6 o'clock in the morning with saying the Shema.
Wow.
Okay, we could use that schutz.
How long ago was this?
When I first moved to Israel 23 years ago, there was every morning I used to listen to Rabbanit Cook on the radio. I was like, wow, this is like, when you first make Aliyah, and it's like, everything is wow. So I was looking for news in English, and all of a sudden I hear this. I didn't even know who Rabbanit Cook was until much, much later. They have a lot of very good programs they have on Friday. I listened to years to the son of Harav Ovadia had a call-in that you could call it and ask any halachic question. It was amazing. I learned a tremendous amount. I used to listen to a shir every morning on the radio as well. And then my kids got big, and they want to listen to only their things, or it's noise, or it bothers them, or mommy, not again, right? Okay. All right. Let's just wrap up here. So Rabbi Nachman, he discusses that Kriya is a call from darkness. And even if a Jew is in the lowest spiritual state, the moment he calls out to Hashem with sincerity, he is immediately uplifted. And that call could even be, Hashem, please help me to be sincere, right? Hashem, help me to be authentic, right? Help me, I feel like I'm lying, right? We could say that to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? We could say anything to Hashem. That's the most authentic prayer. Say, Hashem, I don't even know what I want, right? I don't know what I want. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. Help me to make it tefillah, right? We need to daven, right? Mm-hmm. It's and that's why we have some tefillot before we daven, right? To help us focus, to help us realize, to help us daven, to ask Hashem, please help me. So and the quote we just had from Rabbi Nachman, right? This is exactly what happened on Purim. Klal Yisrael were in a very low spiritual state. They were in very, very deep darkness. And they called out HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it revealed such a tremendous hidden light that was there all the time. They had tremendous amount of light, right? But why was the light was so strong? Because they were coming from a place of such darkness. Lubavitcher Rebbe taught that Kriya is not just for moments of distress. It is also the cry of joy. When the Jews were saved, they did not simply rejoice, they proclaimed their joy by saying, Laihudim Haisa Oira V'Simcha. It wasn't a silent joy, but it's the pasuk is slipping from me. Kois Yeshuas Esa U'B'Shem Hashem Ekra, right? Also, Kois Yeshuas, when I get the Yeshua, it's not part of Vayikra, and part of Kriya is calling out also when there's the Yeshua, right? Saying Mizmor L'Soida, singing Mizmor L'Soida, saying thank you Hashem, all the great songs that there are now, right? Thank you Hashem, and Hashem Yisbarach Tamid Ohevoti V'Tamid Yeli Raktov. This is not just a coincidence that these songs and Mizmor L'Soida Perek Kuf is definitely the most popular Perek of Tehillim, and not only because it's short, right? But because there is a tremendous wave of gratitude amongst Klal Yisrael, and this is Kriya, this is calling out to Hashem, and it's a tremendous thing. It's unbelievable that when you can see people who have suffered so much, and all of us who have been under such intense, times, right, that we can have deep appreciation for things, and we could have tremendous Hakara Satov, and look for, not just look for the good, but see it and feel it. This is Kriya of Kais Yeshuas Esa L'Shem Hashem Ekra. That tremendous miracles have happened. I'm not denying that there's been a lot of tragedy. Okay, that's a separate thing. That doesn't mean. I heard once. I'm a little bit hesitant to quote who it's from. Usually, I try to say who it's from, but it's somebody who I has a very how do I say this nicely? His political views are quite shocking and quite not in line with anyone's here. So I don't want to say his name, but he is a very, very he's brought a lot of healing into the world. So if you figured out who it is, figure out who it is after I say it. But one of the things that was interesting is his reaction to this October 7th, and his parshanut on it was a little bit disturbing. Especially, like when you have somebody who you like respect, and then you hear them say something, and it's like, what, right? He's not a religious person, but he is a Holocaust survivor, and I would have expected something different from that. But he was basically, he expressed a very, very upsetting political view, where he showed a lot of compassion to the perpetrators of the crimes of the 7th of October, something you can't even understand. Anyways, but one thing he did say, speaking of taking the good from the bad, one thing he did say is, he said, I could say to myself, well, because all these people are miserable and hurt and in pain, then my mind wants to say I should also be in pain, right? I don't have a right to joy right now when all of these people are in pain, okay? And he said, I could say that to myself, but instead I choose to say to myself, I need to be in a place of joy because all of these people are in pain. Not in spite, not to rub it in their faces, but to bring joy into the world, right? And just because somebody else is hurting and in pain doesn't mean that I have to deny myself all joy. I want to identify with somebody else's pain. I don't want to live in a narcissistic bubble of only me. But that doesn't mean that I can't also experience joy at the same time. And maybe perhaps through me experiencing joy, the people in pain can also experience joy too. And I do what?
It's a balance.
It's a balance. It's a hard balance, right? It's a very hard balance.
Any reason?
What? It wasn't Ellie
Was that a reason?
Yeah, it can't be Ellie Wiesel. But in any event, we're going into Purim, right? And honestly, last year, very hard. I wasn't in the right mind. I couldn't get into the right mind frame for Purim. I couldn't do it, right? I asked Hashem, it wasn't meant to be, right? Because it didn't happen. And so this year I need to start praying much earlier, right? To get into the mind frame for Purim. And even within, because just like, and we're seeing it now, right? We're seeing how everything is beginning to turn around. Things are turning. Like we started this year with that amazing story about Elio Cohen. And there are going to be many more stories. I read this morning such a beautiful thing that a man whose last name is Beck, he brought a gift to Agam Berger of a violin which survived. She plays the violin, a violin which survived the Holocaust.
Wow.
Whoa.
And he gave it to her as a gift. It had been in his family, and they had somehow smuggled it in through the camps and made its way to Eretz Yisrael. 130-year-old violin. He gave it to her as a gift and said, "You're a survivor, and this violin is survived. It belongs to you, right? You're the one who should be playing it." And I heard her play. It was beautiful. This is so beautiful, right? Things are turning around. Things are going to turn around even more. Things are going to be. We're going to start seeing more and more and more or and simcha and sason and nikar. And like Ray said, we're going to go back to that. It's the belief that I am a vessel for light. Hashem, not because I'm great and I'm better than everybody, but because that's how Hashem created every person, every human being. I was in a taxi on last Wednesday, and the driver asked me if he could put on music. I said, sure. He goes, no, but you have to understand, it's my music, not your music. I said, oh. So he said, don't worry, but no cursing. I said, good. You can have your music, but no cursing, because the only people we should curse are Hamas and our enemies. And he says to me, he goes, no, we shouldn't curse them either. And I'm like, huh? Did you do the army? He's like, no. I'm like, I have 3 boys in the army. I would use all my curse words for Hamas. He goes, no, we're Orla Goyim, right? We're a light to the Goyim. We have to send them light, not curses. Now, by the way, afterwards I was thinking about it. The world cursing them and then being obliterated might be a blessing to the world, and that might be a lot of light, but ignoring the no. He's right? Nitzchuni, you want me, right? He's right. We're not supposed to curse, right? We're not supposed to curse. We're supposed to bless, and we're supposed to bring light to the world. So it is true, right? We read Parshas Zachar on Shabbos. How do you bring blessing into the world? By obliterating Amalek, right? That is bringing blessing, right? Getting rid of them, that's the greatest blessing we could give. But that's to curse, right? We're light. We're light. And that's what we want to bring. And we're created.
We'll kill them with our light. That's the thing.
That's great. I'm all with that.
The light will
Laser
dispense
beam.
darkness.
Yeah.
And that's what it does. So
And the new weapons of laser, which is heavily concentrated protons. I'm all for it. So that's the light, and that's the kriya, the calling out of Purim. So when we're reading the Megillah, we want to use it as a prayer, literally a tool of prayer, recognizing that this reading is a public calling, it's a public prayer, and it's a reminder of what is hidden and will always be revealed. We want to use the Mikra Megillah to express gratitude loudly, right? Loudly. It's not a quiet holiday, right? But the dreidel on Hanukkah, that's quiet, right? On Purim, we have a ra'ashan, right? We have noise, okay? Make a lot of
it's on the
noise.
top, and the dreidels at the bottom is opposites. So spinning.
Spin, yafeh. So we don't just want to thank Hashem internally, we want to proclaim our thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, just as the Yidden did when they were saved from Haman. We want to invoke Hashem in this great time of need. We're being faced with tremendous difficulties. We don't want to whisper our prayers on prayer. We want to call them out. Every song we sing, every na, every niggud we hum, it's all a prayer calling out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that just like He saved our ancestors from complete annihilation and brought them to a great place, right? We're just like Mordechai. Mordechai, one day he had a big X on his back. He was going to be hung. And instead of being hung up high, he rose to the top to be Mishneh Lamelech, right? To be the second in command. So to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And just like Avram Avinu openly called Hashem's name out, we also want to do this in our daily lives, recognizing HaKadosh Baruch Hu openly. So Purim is not just celebrating survival of Klal Yisrael, it is about the transformation of Klal Yisrael. It teaches that hiddenness, Hester, is not absence, and that calling out, Kriya, is the key to revelation. The power of Kriya is that when a Yid calls out to Hashem, not as a distant voice, but as an ever-present reality, he pulls the concealed into the revealed and transform them. And that is a transformation of the Nahafaku. So may we merit to truly call out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this Purim, proclaiming His presence in our lives, making what is nistar nigle, what's concealed, obvious, and even on the highest level possible, and experiencing the great light that flows from the cry of true connection of Kriya.
Amen. Wow. Really.
And then purpose to actually hear